What if your biggest productivity problem isn't lack of time, but wasted energy? Let's talk about the hidden cost of sunk energy. This is where process-first leadership begins. Before we ask how technology or AI can transform our business, we first need to understand the processes that create today's results. Because technology can accelerate a good process, but it can also accelerate waste inside a broken one.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to unpack a silent crisis that's happening in organizations all around the world right now. We're going to uncover exactly why well-intentioned, highly capable managers are unknowingly draining their absolute most valuable asset on low-value work. Now look, we aren't talking about generic time management tips here or how to color code your calendar better. Not at all. We're talking about fundamentally redefining what it means to lead and how to avoid a massive, hidden cost known as sunk energy.
So, let me kick things off by asking you a critical question, one that shifts our focus from just managing our time to actually managing our strategic attention. And that question is, where is your best leadership energy going? Notice I didn't ask where your time is going. Time is just a flat measurement, right? Energy, attention, cognitive capacity, that is where true leadership value is actually created. We really need to start looking at where we're spending those focused, high-quality cognitive hours.
To see how this really plays out in the real world, let's picture a totally realistic, well-intentioned manager. We'll call her Sarah. Now, Sarah kicks off Monday completely pumped and with a clear plan. She's going to spend her week developing her people, she's going to finally solve that major supply chain bottleneck on the manufacturing floor, and she's going to do some much-needed strategic planning. But fast forward to Wednesday, and what is she actually doing? Well, she's spending hours consolidating spreadsheets, manually pulling data from 3 completely unintegrated software systems, and prepping massive slide decks just for routine status update. Her high-value goals? Completely sidelined by the administrative machine.
We see this constantly, right? It's that massive gap between intent and reality. The intended goals, like strategic thinking, process improvement, and real coaching opportunities, are just completely consumed by manual report preparation and chasing down routine approvals. When a leader is spending their peak mental hours formatting a PowerPoint deck or sitting around waiting on a digital approval queue, they aren't just losing a few hours of their day. They're literally losing the opportunity to make their team better.
And that brings us to the core concept of sunk energy. It happens when highly compensated specialists and leaders basically end up acting like clerical data processors. The really crucial point to understand here is that the true cost of this sunk energy isn't just lost time. The real loss is executive attention, its organizational learning, and its decision-making power. Think about it. When you pay a brilliant leader to act as a human copy and paste machine, the entire organization ends up paying a massive complexity tax.
So why on earth do we let this happen? Well, leaders naturally drift toward administrative work because organizations often reward highly visible activity over true and sometimes invisible leadership effectiveness. It's incredibly visible to send a 50-person CC'd email thread or to stand up and present a 40-page status deck. It makes it look like you're working really hard. But true leadership effectiveness, like permanently eliminating a broken process or having a quiet, incredibly powerful coaching conversation that changes an employee's whole trajectory, that often leaves no immediate paper trail. We just confuse busyness with actual value.
This kind of administrative drag doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in over time through something called structural creep. Think about a complexity scorecard. It forces us to ask some tough questions, like, are we really writing 20-slide presentations to justify decisions that should realistically take 2 minutes to explain? This happens all the time because someone, somewhere, made a mistake once. So the reaction is to implement a permanent administrative bottleneck, or an extra layer of approval to prevent it from ever happening again, which permanently slows down the entire team.
To really grasp why organizations severely underestimate the cost of this fragmented attention, we need to borrow a concept from lean thinking. Now, traditionally, lean was used in manufacturing to eliminate physical waste, right on the factory floor. But today, we have to apply it to knowledge work. We're hunting for administrative and transactional waste. This is an invisible, digital waste that cranks up our cognitive load, leads straight to decision fatigue, and absolutely destroys organizational performance.
Let's compare these wastes across different environments, especially since most leaders oversee a mix of both. In a manufacturing or supply chain setting, waste might look like physical motion, literally walking back and forth between stations, or manually writing down data on the shop floor. But in the office, where the vast majority of this sunk energy actually hides, waste is virtual. It's digital motion. It's navigating unintegrated software platforms,
digging through labyrinth-like folder structures and enduring crazy information transfer delays. Think of a real-world example. A tiny $450 label tweak on a shipping box getting caught up in 23 days of approvals, ultimately resulting in $52,000 of lost time and air freight penalties. That right there is pure administrative waste.
Now, let me be super clear about something. We are absolutely not saying that all reports are waste. Far from it. The crucial takeaway here is that we must ruthlessly separate necessary management information from administrative busywork. Necessary management information directly supports better, faster decisions. Administrative waste, on the other hand, is doing things right that honestly shouldn't be done at all, like meticulously generating complex reports that literally nobody reads, just because, well, we've always done it that way.
So how do we combat this? Well, high-performance teams practice systematic subtraction. They use a really clever tool called a sunset registry. Basically, you take redundant, zombie reports or pointless sync meetings, and you just pause them for 30 days. Put them on the registry. If nobody complains that the report is missing after a month, it gets permanently deleted. It is a brilliant, low-risk way to stop legacy process drift and reclaim your energy.
And that leads us perfectly into our central framework for combating sunk energy. We call this the process-first leadership lens. It's essentially a new way of viewing your calendar and your daily responsibilities to ensure your energy is actually going toward high-leverage activities. Under this lens, a leader has 3 primary responsibilities, and I mean it when I say anything outside of these needs to be seriously questioned.
Under this lens, your absolute first core responsibility, and what our manager Sarah originally wanted to do, is to lead. In practical business terms, this means setting crystal clear direction for your team. It means establishing firm priorities so your people know exactly what matters most today. It involves making firm, timely decisions rather than deflecting everything into endless consensus meetings. And it means ensuring total team alignment so everyone is pulling the rope in the exact same direction.
Your second huge responsibility is to coach. You have got to actively shift your energy away from endless spreadsheet consolidation and put it toward developing your people. This means building their capabilities so they can handle more complex tasks on their own. It means guiding them through problem solving rather than just jumping in and fixing the problem for them. And it requires providing direct, actionable feedback. If you're stuck in an inbox all day long, you are robbing your team of the coaching they desperately need to grow.
And responsibility number 3 is to improve. This is all about focusing your executive brainpower on process improvement and lean waste reduction. Instead of waking up and fighting the exact same fires you fought yesterday, you use your energy to find fundamentally better ways of working. You establish a routine that ensures you're consistently looking at processes and removing the roadblocks that are slowing your team down.
So, here is a critical, everyday habit for you to build. Before you accept that meeting invite, before you start building yet another slide deck, before you dive into an hour of formatting cells in Excel, you need to stop and ask yourself, does this activity help me lead? Does it help me coach? Does it help me improve? If you look at your daily administrative tasks and the answer to those 3 questions is no, you've got to fundamentally question why that activity exists in the first place.
I have a challenge for you today. Run this quick self-assessment exercise. Open up your calendar right now and review your last week of work. Be brutally honest with yourself here. Identify the top 3 activities that consumed the biggest chunks of your time. Now, run them through the lens we just talked about. Did those hours contribute to leading, coaching, or improving? Or were they sunk energy? Once you clearly see the gap, you can start aggressively sunsetting all that waste.
Because remember, every single hour spent on low-value busy work is an hour literally stolen from your team's potential. Your attention is the bottleneck to your team's success. It's time to stop acting as a highly paid clerical processor, step back into your true role, and protect your leadership energy like your absolute most valuable asset. So what process are you going to eliminate tomorrow? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.
The real problem isn't that talented people are working too little. Is that they are spending too much energy on work that doesn't create value. Before adding AI, before adding automation, and before asking people to work harder, ask yourself one question. Where is your team's best energy going today? Because organizations don't transform when people become busier. They transform when energy is redirected toward work that truly matters.